Does the sound of freedom get you up in the morning?
You're just a big kid that likes shooting missiles. Is Top Gun your favorite movie?
Do you constantly find yourself impersonating Tom Cruise?
Are you wearing aviators right now?
See, it's because I was inverted. Do you carry challenge coins around in your back pocket?
Well, if any of those describe you, you're watching the right video. Today we are talking all about relocating to Lockheed. Not moving into Lockheed, but let's say you're relocating.
They might have a problem with that.
To work there, yeah. But yeah, anyways, we are going to be talking about all kinds of different lifestyles, that kind of stuff, if you are looking to move to the Fort Worth area and work at Lockheed Martin. So this is going to be a great place to start.
Lockheed Martin is like one of the biggest employers here in Fort Worth, if not the largest, and with all the taxes and tax rebates and everything that Texas is throwing at them, they're probably going to be around for quite some time. And they likely have employed you if you're watching this video or you've considered working for them. And honestly, it's a really good job to get into. I know that my girl was trying to apply for jobs there for years, never ended up getting accepted, but they're a very prolific employer, them as well as a couple of the other guys that do aircraft like Bell and Raytheon around here. So it's one of those things where they're definitely not going away. So
yeah,
it's really cool to have more people like that are moving to the area, but it can be really trepidatious, especially if you're moving new states, new cities, even just the job environment as a whole. So we kind of wanted to sit down and talk about like what Lockheed is like from just a culture perspective, because your job is going to be your job. You're just going to have to get used to it. If you don't like it, you shouldn't have signed up for it. But as far as where you work, we can talk a little bit on that.
And we'll also talk a little bit about Fort Worth, and then we're going to talk about different neighborhoods. So like if you're trying to figure out where to live, we're going to talk about different things. Like if you're single, if you've got a family, if your kids are moved out, we'll talk about all those different neighborhoods and where you might want to start your search. And obviously, if you are looking, we'd love to help you. Do reach out to us. We've got links in the description if you want to reach out. Or if you just want to start seeing what's available, we also have a link where you can just start your search and get properties coming to you. So that being said, also right next to Lockheed Martin is the JRB. Mm-hmm. So if you are relocating for that as well, this will probably apply to you. So anyways, Lockheed Martin, the culture.
Yeah, so like Tom was saying, it is right next to JRB Fort Worth. And for those who may not be familiar, JRB stands for Joint Reserve Base. It's a naval air station that we have here in Fort Worth. It's mostly reservists, but they have a flight line there, so they get a lot of planes coming in and out on the flight line there. And Lockheed Martin sits like shoulder to shoulder with that base. So their actual manufacturing plant and everything is right there next to JRB off of Lockheed Boulevard. So they employ a lot of guys that are coming out of the military. They work hand in hand with those guys because that's the closest runway essentially for all of their test flights and everything. And they supply the F-35 Lightning, which used to be the F-22 Raptor. This is like the Stovall variant or the vertical takeoff variant, which has been very helpful to military operations, not just in the U.S., but like Europe has bought a ton of them, especially with the war in Ukraine. They've been flying off the shelves, no pun intended. So yeah, no, it's a really big employer here in Texas, but it's also just kind of like fulcral to the economy, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I've known a few people that have worked there. A lot of people work there their entire career. So they must be doing something right. I don't know if it's the culture or the pay. The folks, some of the folks that I knew a little bit better, they would have get-togethers and everything else outside of work. So that was always cool to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's from what I've heard talking to the people that work there and just looking up reviews of people who have worked there in the past, it's a very welcoming and like inviting environment. So the thing with like military types, because I will say right now, the Lockheed types are very much DoD-esque, as I like to say. So it was like 1 and 2 are going to be prior military or have worked directly with the military. They may be very short and efficient verbally, but as far as like once you're in, it's like you're in. It's almost fraternal. So you're going to have a leg up with somebody who may not be working in Lockheed. They're going to be more willing to help you, more willing to coach you through things because they want an efficient shop. They want things to be run efficiently, and that means they want you to be efficient and know how to do your job. So you're not going to be lacking for instruction or anything like that. They have very in-depth training, very good facilities and resources. I mean, these guys get federal grants thrown at them left and right, so they're not hurting for money either.
Yeah. Now, as far as Fort Worth goes, if you're not familiar with Fort Worth, you're just like looking into it for the first time, Fort Worth is a major city, 12th largest. And so if you were thinking that Fort Worth is just like this little cowtown thing, not the case anymore. But there's a lot of culture here. There's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of friendliness. I think that's the biggest thing when people relocate to the area. They're like, man, people are incredibly friendly here, even more so than Dallas. I don't know.
I would definitely say more so than Dallas. Dallas feels very like, I don't want to say cold, but like cut and dry. That it's very business.
Yeah, and then also like Lockheed is located on the west side of Fort Worth, so you're close to almost the outskirts. So like there's so many different lifestyles. So if you do want to have that, Texas lifestyle with some land and everything else, it's not like you're going to be driving an hour to get to Lockheed. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But as far as Fort Worth goes, you're going to have major shopping. You're going to have like high-end shopping at Clear Fork. You're going to have, we've got a couple different like restaurant, shopping hangout areas like West 7th, and gosh, help me out, Jack.
Hewlin, like, oh my God, Clear Fork.
Clear
That's
Fork.
what it's called.
You've got Hewlin and Bryan Irving that has a lot of different stuff, and then over by Fairmont, you've got Magnolia. There it was, yeah. And then there's obviously the Stockyards, which I don't know if there's a news article that came out this week that there's a big expansion that they're planning to have going after all the expansion they already did, which is great. So there's a lot to do here, and then Dallas is only a half hour to an hour away depending on traffic. So so you're gonna have there's so many different things to do, and we have all kinds of festivals and events and things like that. So regardless of what your thing is, you can probably find it here, or worst case scenario over in Dallas.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like for just a quick reference for anyone who doesn't know where Lockheed Martin is, if you're looking at Fort Worth, we have this big road that goes all the way around it that we call the 820 loop. It basically encompasses the bulk of Fort Worth. If you're looking at it on a map, it's in the top left corner, just on the edge of White Settlement and Fort Worth. So it's in a pretty decent area. You're not far from the city center. It's like 10-15 minutes if you're driving into downtown, so you can get basically everywhere in Fort Worth within about half an hour. It's not a bad spot at all.
And if you want to know the real scoop, the good stuff, the bad stuff, we have other videos that talk about the pros and cons, what you need to expect if you're going to be living here with the heat and with the mosquitoes and the traffic, all that kind of stuff. So we'll link to those videos as well in the description, so if you want to check those out after this one, you can get more in depth with it. But shall we move on to neighborhoods?
Yeah, and so with a lot of the people that we work with, they're coming in from out of state, out of city. It can be really difficult to coordinate housing and living situations whenever you don't live in an area, because you don't know anything there. You don't know where the best places to be are. Unless
you got guys like us.
You're working with an expert.
That's right.
What is it? Elon Musk said, I didn't go to Harvard, but the people who work for me do.
Yeah.
It's like, let the people who know what they're doing do what they know how to do for you.
Well said. So kicking it off, I figured we'd just talk about a couple different types of people that might be moving this way. So like if you are somebody that's maybe single, or you're young starting out and you're kind of looking for that entry level home that maybe maybe the way you're looking at it is like, hey, I'm going to get something small and then maybe turn that into a rental property down the road. Then there's going to be quite a few options if you want to stay close, like if you want to stay really close to Lockheed. So the first, probably the least expensive, is going to be River Oaks. And River Oaks is the Trinity River runs through Fort Worth. It's kind of in this valley of it's not a valley. I don't know how you say it, but it's like this little area just north of the Trinity River. It's technically not Fort Worth, it's its own city. And a lot of those homes were built as like housing for the base back in the day. So a lot of them are stick frame, They're going to be older. Some of them don't have dishwashers. Some of them didn't originally have washer and dryer hookups, that kind of thing.
Yeah, they're like early 1900s to like mid 1900s houses.
Yeah, and so it's a pretty quiet place. School district's awful.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, good lord.
So like, you probably don't want to send.
Like I said, definitely for the single types.
Yeah. But that's an option. They also have, like, over the last couple of years, started building right along the Trinity River. So there's townhomes there, and I think there's a lot of renovation going on, as well as homes being knocked down and rebuilt. So you can find all that kind of stuff, and those homes are going to go from you can probably still find stuff in the 200s.
I actually looked earlier today. There was one listed for 190.
Wow, there you go. So that's probably going to be the cheapest option. Now, if you want to have like a more traditional, like 3-2 with a garage, that kind of thing, Western Hills is just south of 30. South of Lockheed Martin is I-30 that runs through, and it's just south of that is Western Hills. And so that's a nice little neighborhood. As you get closer to 30, there's a lot of apartments. With apartments come more crime. So that's one thing to keep in mind as far as safety goes. When you get closer to 30, there's going to be more safety concerns. Also, you have white settlement.
That's true. I mean, honestly, like, look, I think the big draw for white settlement is the location. Like, it really doesn't have a lot going for it except for affordable houses in a decent spot.
Yeah, and the schools over there. So like on the outside of the 820 loop, there are a ton of new homes going up. So if you're looking for kind of that entry level new home, you've got D.R. Horton, you've got Sandlin, which is almost closed out. You've got Meritage Homes. There's LGI, which is like your minimalist type builder, has new homes over there as well. So there's a lot of new home options as well that are going to be more affordable. So these are going to be probably starting in the low 300s. So that could be another option for you as well. I say that it's probably more like mid 300s at this point. You might be able to find low 300s, but so yeah, there's a lot of options there. Now, I will say on that side, the white settlement schools over there are better than the Fort Worth schools. So there are some families that are like, okay, we'll buy over here, but we want to make sure we're in the white settlement school district, which is not, I don't think it's A-rated. I think it's B+ or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not like over the top awesome, but it's a decent school district. Fort Worth, so if you're the first time, Fort Worth's not known for their schools. Yeah, just like, so.
I mean, we have good ones, but overall.
Yeah. As far as like somebody that's maybe young, single, looking for that starter type home, or maybe not young and single, but you're looking for something that you can live in, kind of figure everything out, and then rent out. You have any other thoughts on that?
Honestly, the only other place I would suggest is possibly Lake Worth. It's a little bit further, maybe an extra 4 or 5 minute drive, but they do have some new development going up there. So if you need a cheap home that has a warranty or builder warranty on some of the structural items, that's not a bad way to go either.
Yeah, there's a really nice neighborhood. There's no amenities in the neighborhood, but it was by Impression Homes, and it was like most of them are right around 350, and I think it's technically Saginaw. But it's just north of there. And then Saginaw's not a bad option either. So that kind of leads into our next group of people is like, hey, if you're looking for something more entry level, but you do have kids, let's talk about where the schools, those areas where the schools are. And so I think in that case, Saginaw is in the Eagle Mountain
ISD?
Yeah.
I believe it's A-rated on niche.com. By the way, we get all of our school ratings on niche.com, so if you guys want to do any further reading, it's a quick Google search away. Yeah,
so Saginaw's not a bad option either, and that's going to be fairly close. There is a bunch of shopping right there on the north 820 loop. You've got Kohl's, TJ Maxx, Home Depot, Lowe's, like all your normal, like anything that you need is going to be pretty close by. Yeah. And but apart from that, there's not a whole lot going on in Saginaw.
Yeah, they're developing a lot, but it's still maybe 3 years into the future at this rate. They've been doing a ton of development on Bailey Boswell, which is like the main crossroad across Saginaw Boulevard. The overpass to relieve traffic, a ton of industry is going up in that area, or I'm sorry, not industry, retail is going up in that area. But there is also industry as well, which has been why it's which is why it's been so slow, is because it's known for its grain production.
Yeah.
And not much else.
Now, if you are okay with a little bit more of a drive, there are a lot of options as you go north. So north of Saginaw and Bailey-Boswell, like you talked about, you've got Haslet, and that's you're either going to be in the Eagle Mountain Saginaw ISD or Northwest ISD, which are both A-rated.
Really good.
Right? Yeah. So for that reason, there's been a ton of growth happening that way. There's a ton of homes. We have, I think, 6 or 7 videos on all the new home neighborhoods in that area. So there's a lot to like filter and that kind of thing if you're open to that. And again, feel free to reach out if we probably narrow things down for you pretty quick based on your criteria. But yeah, apart from that, is there anywhere in Fort Worth?
So actually, for family homes, there are a couple of options in like the Ridgemar area. I know if like you're bringing kids into it, not the best school district. First of all, Ridgemar is just kind of on par with Fort Worth schools, but they do have more economical mid-range houses as well.
Yeah.
Other than that, I would say just outside of White Settlement, as you go closer to like the Weatherford or Aledo area, there's some stuff out there. You've got North Star, which is by Haslet. Most of these are going to be a little bit further of a drive because I think most of the stuff around the Lockheed area is more geared towards young single individuals.
Yeah. So let's talk about traveling a little further out. So as far as like schools go, let's say that you're looking at something you want to be under $500,000, right? So, or close to it. Then you could be looking at Weatherford. I think their schools are rated, I think it's in the B range.
Yeah, their school district they've got some decent schools though.
Yeah, Aledo is a highly rated, highly sought after school district. They've got a good sports program there. And so that's, for that reason, a lot of people are going that route. And so in Aledo, we've got a ton of videos in there. You've got parts of Aledo, you've got Walsh, you've got, and then those are going to be in the Morningstar. So like if you're looking for more of like a master plan community, and you have kids, those could be great options. There are definitely other options in those areas, but those are going to be more of your master plan type communities. And most of those are going to start, I think you can find some in the 4s. David Weekley had some products at Walsh in the 3s. Those,
the garden homes. They look really nice too.
Yeah. And then they do have townhomes as well. So if you don't want to deal with a yard, if you're somebody that travels a lot for work, that could be an option as well. So, but apart from that, yeah, I don't think there's like Fort Worth though. It's like,
most of it's up towards Saginaw area, like you were saying earlier. There's actually a ton of like early mid 2000s houses up there, so they're coming down in price since they're starting to age, but they're still really nice houses.
Yeah. And then last but not least, you have Ventana in the Benbrook area. So this is on the south side of Fort Worth. It's not too bad of a drive to Lockheed at all. And the Benbrook schools are mostly rated in the B range, but Scuttlebug on the street those are up and coming. They just built a new elementary school there. So that's one of those areas I would, if you're just going based on rankings, you would probably miss that one, but I think it's worth exploring. So let's talk about people that are social, that want to be in or close to areas where they can, I guess, have community.
Yeah, I would say because like Fort Worth has like a couple of really big hot spots for that kind of thing. A lot of it gears itself more towards like downtown, or like you were saying earlier, the Magnolia area is really good for that kind of thing. We've actually had people reach out specifically about that area from other states because they're like, oh yeah, I want to be close to like bars and events and music, but I still want to be able to like walk to my house if I get too drunk.
Yeah, so Magnolia is like this one street with a ton of stuff on it. Sometimes they'll close it down for events and festivals. But right behind that is Fairmount, and it's got these are bungalow type homes. So these are all built in the early 1900s. Every once in a while, somebody knocks one down and builds something new. But yeah, those are probably going to start in the 400s and go up from there, depending on how big it is. So that would be an option. Also, Arlington Heights. So this is close to Dickies Arena, West 7th, where there's a ton of shopping and everything else in downtown. And then also behind West 7th and Montgomery Plaza. Well, there's Montgomery Plaza if you want that condo living. In Linwood, there's a bunch of townhomes in Linwood, and this is probably one of the most walkable areas if you're somebody that likes walking. You're also close to the Trinity Trail. I will say rush hour traffic along West 7th is really bad. It's not the worst, but they've been doing construction on it, seems like.
It's
for the last
that
3
one
years.
intersection. It just slows everything down.
But apart from that, that's a great option if you want that active lifestyle. And I think the townhomes start in the 400s, condos start in the 3s. But the lower condo price, you do have big monthly HOA, so there's a trade-off. And of course, you have downtown living. But
Right, yeah, there's a little historical district over there on the other side of West 7th. A couple of pockets here and there, but those are probably the biggest ones.
Yeah. Cool. Who's next on our list? Oh, all right, let's talk about space. If you want some space.
Yeah, maybe you want the exact opposite of what we were just talking about.
If you didn't just tune out on that segment. Yeah, there's quite a few options. So we mentioned Aledo and Weatherford. And just south of Benbrook is Bella. And Bella are Acre Community sites. It has been one of the most economical acre lot developments as far as proximity goes to downtown Fort Worth, right? So it's a good location. You have, but they are closing out as far as lots go and that kind of thing. They're kind of at the end there. And so there are definitely new homes still going up. There's other homes that are selling, but it's well septic. You're outside city limits, so you save on property taxes a bit. And then just past that, there is another neighborhood, which we're going to go back down to and explore again. Do you remember the name of it? It's with Pivot Homes.
Oh, Kelly Ranch.
Yeah, Kelly Ranch is the overall development. I can't remember the actual neighborhood.
I forget the name of the phase that they're naming it.
Anyways, we'll link to the video we've already published, and they just finished their model home. So we're going to go back and film that here in the next week or two. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And then obviously Aledo has a ton of stuff going on, a lot of different neighborhoods out there if you want acre plus lots. And then the other area that I think is overlooked is the northwest area of Fort Worth. And
like out by Hazel and
where we just had
everything.
Some clients contract a house. So there's like so there's basically this road that takes you out, and the traffic's not bad. It's like a nice drive getting out there, and you're probably within 30 minutes to Lockheed, and there's just lots of terrain and there's lots of trees. So that's the other thing. In a lot of these areas, there's not a whole lot of trees. Like at Bella,
it's like nothing.
Yeah, except for there's like one area in the front where there's like a creek that runs through, and there's a bunch of trees. But other than that, it's just like nothing. So when it's windy, you're feeling it. But this other area, Covered Bridge, is one of the neighborhoods out there. Lock and Terra is another neighborhood. But there's just like these developments that went in where people built on some land. They're all nice homes. But those, you're going to be looking at, lucky if you can find one in the 600 range. But those are going to be 7 up to, on average, most of them are 700 up to like 1.2. Now, there are much more expensive ones, like if you have horses, you want the stable, extra land, all that kind of stuff. You're going to find that there. You're also going to find it at Weatherford, Aledo. So yeah, those would be the places to look if you're wanting some land. Any other suggestions on that?
No, not on the land front. I will say that I know it wasn't on our script, but I do want to mention if you're just a real plain nut and you didn't get enough of it at work, there's a couple of airport communities that aren't far from there either. There's, oh my God, it's like Hill Oaks. I forget the name of it. It's out by Weatherford.
Okay.
But it's right there off of the same road that you take to get in and out from like Walsh or Morningstar. And then there's also Hicks. If you keep going up Saginaw Boulevard, it will take you right by it. So there's a couple of specialty communities in that area as well. And I'm pretty sure they popped up because of their proximity to the base.
Yeah, and if you do have the big bucks and move out to Kelly Ranch, which those start in the 700s. No, it's not bad, but they do get much more expensive. But there is a airfield right across the highway from there. So you would be within 5 minutes of your airplane if you decided to store one there. But The other thing that wasn't on our list that we ought to mention is lake living, right?
Oh yeah.
Shoot,
Duh.
I mean, yeah, Lockheed backs up
right
to a
next
lake.
to the lake.
Yeah, so you have right behind it is Lake Worth, and that lake is a constant level lake because I don't know if it's Lockheed or the base uses it to cool some kind of pumps or some kind of
There's like a
machinery.
hydroelectric something or another over there.
So I say that there was a pretty big drought earlier this year, and the water levels were going down, but it's filled back up. And that lake, there's no like. So that's an interesting lake. There's still land leases on there, which is a whole other thing if you end up shopping there. There's not a ton of houses. The houses that are there, some of them are really weird. We've been out and looked at some that were like knockdowns. We've looked at others that, in terms of renovating, but there's some that are like on one side of the road and then your dock's on the other side of the road. To the lake.
Yeah, where it's like the lot is split up.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's kind of a hodgepodge out there, but there is they have Goat Island, and that's a place where people will tie their boats up, and then you have Eagle Mountain, which feeds that. So just north of that is Eagle Mountain, and if you want the lake living, that kind of lifestyle, it's a great lake. They've got marinas, so you don't have to be on the lake if you want to be close to it. They've got marinas. They've got you can have docks on that lake. There is a new community called the Resort.
I don't know.
We've been there. It's on the north. I've been there.
Do you know who the builder was?
There's a couple different builders. A lot of it's been built out. It's on the northeast side of the lake, and they have a golf course as well.
Oh my God, yes, I do.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know what. Oh my God,
we'll
have it up on.
Is it the Resort? I think it's the Resort.
It's something. It's like the Resort at Eagle Mountain Lake, or
yeah. If not, Neil will correct it on the
the
screen.
He can make us look stupid.
But yeah, there's a lot of options all around the lake as well. So if that's something you want to do, more than likely you're going to be spending a lot if you want to be directly on the lake. You're probably looking $700,000 and up. You might be able to find something under that. There's condos out there. There's all kinds of stuff. It's a big lake. And then they had a restaurant that burned down. I think there is still another restaurant that's currently functioning out there. But they have a party cove and a lot of different areas to go do recreational stuff.
Yeah, the park or whatever, the reserve.
Mm-hmm.
They got tons of camping and whatnot as well. There was even like that one little holdout community in the middle of the reserve, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah. The only downside to the lake living, unless you're on the south side of Eagle Mountain, you're probably going to be driving to a lot of stuff because there's not like a whole lot of commercial development anywhere like super close to the lake. So not a long drive, but it might be you forget something at the grocery store. It could be a 15 to 20 minute drive. Yeah. So anyways, just something to consider. But I know we threw a lot at you. We were hoping to cover a lot of different areas. This is kind of a, help you get started type thing so you can start to know where to focus on. If you've got questions, please do leave them down in the comments. We read those, we respond to them. And if you'd like to just give us a call, we're available. So
yeah, remember a 2-minute phone call could save you $2,000 up to $10,000 on your next home purchase.
That's right. So as always, if you're looking to buy or sell, remember to keep calm. Call Tom.